In this video, I'm going to be deep cleaning this MGHS, which I usually maintain on a fortnightly basis. However, it has been about a month since the previous wash on this car, so it's definitely in need of a good tidy up. The first thing that I did was pre-wash the wheels using Yum Citrus, and I went for about 150ml to 850ml of water in the IK sprayer. I also applied it to the wheel arches to give those a clean using the Easy Go brush, whilst I was waiting for it to dwell long enough on the alloys. I then went in with Turtle Wax's Hyperfoam Wheel and Tyre Cleaner, which I find to be quite a potent product on both areas. I could see it begin to draw out some grime from the tyres before I even started to agitate it, which is always a good sign. And I also find that this product adds quite a lot of lubrication, which is very useful when contact cleaning the alloys. It's ready to use, so not the cheapest product in the world, but it is a good one to just grab when I'm feeling lazy and don't want to mix up a wheel cleaner. After giving the alloys a good clean, I sprayed a little bit of Stjarnagloss glass and then rinsed that off immediately, just to add a little bit of protection and make them easier to dry as well. Before jumping in with any pre-wash chemicals, I did blast off the lower sections with a pressure washer to remove sort of all that mud and debris. I then coated all the lower sections of the car in that same mixture of Yum Citrus and let that dwell for a few minutes in order to soak that heavier layer of grime. To extend the dwell time of that Yum Citrus on the lower sections and to pre-wash the rest of the vehicle, I then went in with two products that have been kindly sent down by Pyramid Car Care. So I've got their new foam cannon and snow foam. This snow foam cannon is a little bit different to most that I see on the market in that it has 5 independent settings with different spray patterns, so you can go for a jet, a vertical fan, horizontal fan, a cone and a downwards pattern, which is useful for reaching the roof on taller cars. I went for the vertical pattern to start with and noticed that there was a little bit of spluttering on either side, which I didn't notice on any of the other settings. Another thing that I did notice is that the bottle doesn't drain quite as quickly as something like an MJJC foam cannon that really guzzles that snow foam, so you might need to use a slightly higher concentration of product if you're used to using a foam cannon like that. It did feel really well made, and I particularly like the wide neck design that makes it very easy to pour in chemicals. As for the snow foam, it had a relatively thin consistency, which isn't an issue for me. I'm more just bothered about whether it cleans or not. In this instance, I did use that Yum Citrus underneath as I felt like I needed a bit more bite. However, this snow foam does actually have good cleaning ability by itself, so when the car isn't quite as dirty, I'll just go ahead and use this product on its own. The price per mil of this snow foam and the dilution ratio is also quite an economical one, which is of course a definite bonus. I wanted to do a proper decon wash on this car, as about 9 months prior to filming this video, I applied the Pyramid Car Care 3-year ceramic coating, and on the previous few washes it was just looking a little bit clogged and not performing quite as well as I think it can. So to kick off that decon process, I used the Garage Therapy Decon shampoo at 50ml to 450ml of water in the foam cannon, sprayed that over the car and then continued with a contact wash as normal. So this shampoo has far better cleaning ability than a typical pH neutral shampoo, and it's actually very useful at removing old waxes and sealants, but one of the best uses for it is to actually cleanse a ceramic coating, as it's not capable of removing that, so it's not going to cause any damage, but it just helps to unclog it to restore that performance. After I'd contact washed the car, I proceeded to give it a quick dry using the Interdetailing Dreadnought Twisted Loop Towel, and then used the ADBL Iron Fallout Remover. So this has a really sort of thick gel-like consistency, so I actually put a different trigger head on this, as the one that comes supplied I feel just isn't powerful enough. And even with one of the best trigger heads that I had, a lot of product was required to cover the entire vehicle. After just a couple of minutes, I could see that all the panels had some level of iron contamination on there, as indicated by that purple reaction. So I let it dwell for another few minutes, as it was quite a humid day, so there was not really any risk of it drying out, and then rinsed off the car and patted it dry again before moving on to the next stage. I then went in with the Garage Therapy Glue and Tar Remover, as I noticed that there were quite a number of tar spots, particularly on the lower sections, that had built up over the past sort of 6 weeks. This is probably the fastest reacting tar remover that I have seen, and pretty much instantly after spraying the products on, the tar spot began to bleed, and then after just waiting a minute after application, I gave it a wipe with a microfiber towel, and even the very sort of large tar spots were just removed with a single hit of that product. The performance of the ceramic coating had been restored to a point, but not completely at the level that I was happy with. So I then went in with a water spot remover by Tack Systems, and as you can see, I actually applied this to the car when it was wet, as I wanted to dilute the product slightly, as it is very powerful. A couple of minutes later, I applied some ADBL Tangy shampoo, which is mildly acidic, to my shampoo mitt, and then went over the entire vehicle, just to help give it as deep a clean as possible. With this shampoo being acidic, it does also help to remove mineral deposits, which is mainly what I was going after during this step. After rinsing the vehicle down, I noticed that there was a big improvement to the water behaviour, particularly on areas such as the bonnet. So I think this did a very good job at unclogging the ceramic coating from these mineral deposits. At this point, it was performing pretty much as well as it was on day one on all the panels except for the very, very lower sections. So I decided to go ahead and just top up the protection a little bit on those areas using Decon Wet Coat. At this point, I was happy with how the protection was performing on the entire car. So I used an open hose to sheet most of the water off the panels to make drying easier, and then used my car dryer to blast water out of areas that are particularly prone to trapping it, and then mop the rest of it up using the Rag Company Pluffle microfiber towel. I went ahead and used the 303 aerospace protectant on the wheel arches just to make them look as dark as possible and add a little bit of protection to the plastics. I didn't apply it to any of the other plastic trim as this has been previously coated using the G-Technic trim restorer, which is still looking good for now, so at least for a few more months I probably won't need to apply anything else. I then applied the Mile Deep tyre dressing, which has quite a sort of thick gel-like consistency, but applied really nicely using the Yum Cars foam applicator. When it initially goes on, it looks very, very shiny and a little bit too much in my opinion. However, after about 5 minutes when it soaks in, the gloss is taken down a notch, but it still provided plenty of contrast, which I like to do on a white car, so I was happy with the finish that it left behind.